Probably the most thing I'm most accomplished or most proud of is the fact that we never, I never lost a Marine, and we never lost a member of our platoon.
All right, what's up, Team G-Code? It's Greg Jones, your friendly neighborhood Chief Operating Officer of G-Code Tactical, and we're really honored to have today as our guest the CEO of the Marine Corps Scout Sniper Association, Jonathan JT Taylor. JT, I know a lot of people know you, but for those that don't, do you mind spending a little bit of time introducing yourself?
Absolutely. First off, Greg, I'd like to say thank you for inviting me. Man, I love G-Code's products. They have some of the best holsters that I've ever worn. I've been wearing them ever since I've heard of G-Code. My wife even uses them, so
Great, thanks.
great quality stuff. But yeah, so my name is JT Taylor. I go by JT, and I'm the CEO of the Marine Scout Sniper Association. We are a 501(c) nonprofit military association, and the purpose of our association is to basically provide support services for Marine snipers and their families.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This is a sort of reunion for me. My last job, I did a lot of stuff with snipers, and being an infantry guy for 27 years, I've always enjoyed work with you guys. And I can't say enough about your veteran service organization. Obviously, when I was in charge of Scout Sniper Instructor School, just saw guys like Steve Amiot, who I think it's one of your vice presidents, drive all the way up to Quantico, and just treat the young Marines very special. Hats, T-shirts, really welcoming, and then having fun, but with staff and COs and your folks making sure it's responsible fun. And I was just really impressed seeing that because they should get something like that. They should be treated like a hero. They just accomplished something that's honestly probably much harder than boot camp, much harder than ITB, and it's a big deal when they graduated. So definitely appreciate what you do. And then obviously following up with them and helping out, family problems, money problems. You were telling me there was a corpsman with a sniper platoon that wanted better gear, and you negotiated that, I'm sure probably for free, but you guys do all kinds of those things. You're at SHOT Show generating funds and all over, so we appreciate you being down here today. We're obviously going to talk a lot about snipers today because I think it's why not, right? You can see we're appropriately decorated with a lot of Marine sniper memorabilia.
That's an awesome gift you got there.
Yeah, that's my retirement gift from Precision Weapons section. Master Guns Kennedy hooked me up with that. It was too nice, but they do great work. Actually, before we jump into it, you want to talk about that's an M40A6 replica. This is a real M40A5. You want to talk about that before we jump in?
Let's talk about address the elephant in the room. So yeah, this is a M40A5. This is a fully authentic, original source components, Marine Corps stamped issue. I mean, this is a 100% authentic Marine Corps Scout Sniper rifle. This is a beast. This thing is a must-have for anybody that has a collection. But this gun, I'll tell you a little bit about the gun. So it's, they don't make the rifles anymore. So the cool thing about this gun is that it's a one-off. Like, you're not gonna, very rare that you can find something like this that not only is all authentic parts, but also was actually built at PWS and has the data book and the stamps from PWS, quality control and everything. I just went down, they just built it for us. We had a great gentleman, Ron Niederman, donated all this completely free to us, thousands of dollars worth of equipment that he sourced and donated to us. So thank you, Ryan. We were able to take it down to PWS and they put it together for us. It's pretty awesome. I got to shoot it. I tested it and zeroed it. I was sitting at 1,000 second shot. So it's ready to rock.
What kind of groups is it holding?
Definitely sub-minute with the right shooter. I mean, it's
oh yeah, always got to add that in, the right shooter.
Yeah, with the right shooter, you can hold sub-minute with this gun. It is a beast.
And the big deal about this is in 2023 was the last year that Precision Weapons Section, or PWS, made sniper rifles. That's the reason why I got a replica there, because then the Marine Corps decided to go with factory manufactured, factory produced weapon systems. And then we had to try to think through what else PWS would do. So you really can't get these. And that is, almost a 50-year long tradition that PWS started making rifles for snipers about the time that Carlos Hathcock stood up the Scout Sniper Instructor School.
A lot of the thing now is, since the Scout Sniper program went away last year, when it went away December of 2023, and that was the final graduation date course at Camp Lejeune. After that date, that year 2024 was the biggest year that Scout Sniper Association's ever had as far as support requests coming in from snipers that need help. That's going to do nothing but continue to grow as time goes. So that's why we are still pushing the Scout Sniper Association so hard, so that we can be there for these guys as they transition out of the military. The program going away, you can't get the MOS anymore. A lot of guys feel like they lose their identity.
Oh, yeah.
People go through some issues, so that's why we're here, to take care of those guys.
Yeah, it is important. I had a lot of snipers from 2-1 that were my instructors. They got hit pretty hard at HKIA, and then their instructors at SSIS, and then their MOS goes away. So that was hard for them, coming from, defending the nation, and the negative aspects around Afghan withdrawal, buddies getting hurt and killed, and then the program goes away. But they're great Marines, so definitely help out where you can help out. And then what does it take to be a member of the Scout Sniper Association? I couldn't be, because I'm not an 0317, but how do you rate membership?
So we are a membership association, which means to become a full member, you have to go to our website and fill out an application, right? Apply to be a member. There's 3 ways to be a member, a full member. 1 is that you graduated from Marine Corps Sniper School. 2 is that you served in a Marine Corps sniper platoon in any billet for at least 1 year. That's whether you went to school or not. As long as you're in a platoon for 1 year and you're on good standing with everybody in the community, and you have a scout sniper that can vouch for you, you also rate membership. And then next is anybody that went to combat with a platoon for any amount of time. So you passed the NDOC, you became a pig in a sniper platoon, and you guys went around on deployment, and you come back, and maybe you weren't in for a year. As long as you did a combat deployment, you also rate. Our application process is pretty straightforward. You can see all that stuff. You just put all that information in, and then add as much additional detail as you can, because we go through every application. Our membership coordinator, Lynn Wilson, he goes through those, and he'll contact you back as soon as possible.
Yeah, that's important. We were talking a little bit about before the podcast, when depth to dwell was almost 1-to-1. You did what? You showed me 5 deployments in about as many years.
Yeah.
Yep, 1-to-1, and so a lot of times, if the battalion ran an NDOC off time, or you just wouldn't have an opportunity to go to school. And when I was a company commander, there had been some, I won't say issues, of the Marines, if they were wounded or killed because they went into a 2-man hide, their leadership failed them, right? 3-man occupied hide in a dense urban environment. That was just a bad call by the leadership, not on the Marines. But because of some of that, like, I wouldn't let my snipers go anywhere with less than 6 folks. Did it compromise them a little bit from being small and stealthy? Yeah, but none of my guys got hurt. And so those would be guys that were in the platoon. They passed the NDOC, they did all the training, they did all the missions, but they never got a chance to go to school. Those guys would rate to be a member.
Yep. Basically, they did everything that a scout sniper does and performed that duty successfully and are on good standing. They rate to be a part of our association so that they can get the same benefits as anybody else.
Okay. Well, great. That's awesome. Do you want to talk a little bit about the Marine Scout Sniper Heritage Foundation? Because that would be, if you're just, and I say fanboy in the most positive way possible. I mean, that's sort of where I put myself as a sniper fanboy. I think probably the Scout Sniper Heritage Foundation would be a good way to help, because you can't be a member of the SSA, but you could donate to the Scout Sniper Heritage Foundation and help them build a monument at the Marine Corps Museum.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about the Marine Corps Scout Sniper Heritage Foundation. So the idea for the Heritage Foundation came up for a couple of years, but it really came to fruition last year. The real reason behind it is that we were trying to build a fallen sniper memorial, and we knew that needed to be done because there is no scout sniper memorial anywhere that anybody knows of. Most military units, special units, have a memorial somewhere. There's none for scout snipers, so we felt that was important to memorialize our fallen. With that, the Scout Sniper Association, our board of directors, didn't have the bandwidth to follow through and see that project from start to completion, and also do the fundraising and everything that's going to be involved with that. It's just going to be too much for our board to manage that. So we came up with the idea to start the Marine Corps Heritage Foundation, Scout Sniper War Memorial Foundation. So we did that. So one of their missions is to see that through the finish line, see that memorial built, the money raised and built. We've got a location chosen already at the Marine Corps Museum outside of the Memorial Park. We're just trying to raise money right now to get the ground broke and get it started. The secondary mission of the Scout Sniper Heritage Foundation is to preserve the legacy and do a comprehensive historical study and research on every Marine that was ever a Scout Sniper, going all the way back to 1918. So that's another thing. So we're doing the historian piece, going to the Marine Corps, the archives, digging through records, digging through and trying to find out when these guys were deployed to different theaters, who was serving as a Scout Sniper billet, because a lot of those records, they didn't have records.
Right. So they were paper, handwritten records.
Paper, handwritten, or sometimes you might have been serving in the Scout Sniper billet, but you weren't identified as a Scout Sniper or serving in the billet. So through the Heritage Foundation, we've been able to, the guys on the board of directors there have been able to do a lot of research and uncover a lot about our history that we never knew.
Yeah.
So it's pretty great. And that's really the mission of the Heritage Foundation. And there's a whole group of guys that are running that. They're on board of directors, and they're pushing forward and doing great things also.
Yeah. I do think, I mean, I'm on the board of directors for the Scout Sniper Heritage Foundation, which is why JT was kind enough to let me bring it up. But I do think especially the history is important. And as we go through some recent history, the Marine Corps started the Scout Sniper MOS, then it went to the Army, SOCOM, FBI, local law enforcement, etc. And then we're the first ones to get rid of it. And then soon thereafter, the Heritage Foundation starts digging into the history, and we realize that I think General Pershing directed the U.S. military to stand up snipers because trench warfare, they needed them, and the Brits and the Canadians had already done it. And then you look at what they're doing in the Ukraine, and there's a lot of sniper activity. So it's not, and again, it's good for some of the people that know the politics behind it. It's not an organization that's bad mouthing the Marine Corps. They're trying to very positively talk about both the individuals, but also the tactical service that snipers provided. So it's very interesting that this organization stands up as the Marine Corps suns downs the MOS. Then you could see in current conflict that we're using snipers a lot. So it's very, very interesting. And actually, on that point, before we talk about what it's like to be a sniper and a little bit about you, probably everybody asked, I got asked this question so many times when I was the CO up there. You get asked it, and we know what the answers are, but for our viewers, why do you think the Marine Corps got rid of snipers?
There's not a simple answer. Anything that I would say is my own opinion. In my opinion, I think that the current Scout Sniper course package that we have, POI, maybe needed to be revised and updated a little bit, more modernized. However, I don't think it was not a failed program. It was a great program. We just didn't have the top level leadership that we needed to advocate, because officers cannot go to Scout Sniper school, and most of the senior enlisted guys were never Scout Snipers. So it's when you don't have an advocate, somebody advocating for you at the higher ranks, it's really easy to get pushed to the side. And I think that's really basically what it boils down to. There's a lot of other opinions. Of course, ever since it went away, there's been talks about, it's coming back, and it probably will in some capacity. Not sure how, but nobody can deny the facts that the impact that Scout Snipers have on the battlefield and the legacy that we've left throughout all the conflicts throughout our history. So it's very important.
Yeah, and I mean, to add to that, I was involved in a lot of this for a couple different jobs, and I honestly think probably advocacy is huge. Again, I agree with you, because the package actually was redone, I believe, in 2018, and the attrition rates went way down. But the combination of lack of advocacy, small MOS, and the Marine Corps was looking to divest, to invest into more expensive things. Drones, guided munitions were the hotness, probably a lack of understanding of how that could be used, or the human behind that in a ghillie suit could be used to get to an ORP and launch a drone instead of fire a bullet at a human. And we just said, we'll get rid of that. And I think it was probably short-sighted. And then sure enough, during the infantry battalion experimentation, leaders realized that infantry battalion needs their own organic reconnaissance, and we came up with a scout program. Marines are working hard on that, but that is not, I don't think, going to be the same as. And so, but yeah, I think it was also the only MOS that was sort of homegrown by the unit and then sent to a TCOM school. And I honestly think if we sort of normalized the throughput and you just were selected like every other MOS, GT score, and your combat instructor at ITB to go into a weapons MOS, that would normalize the throughput, because then what happens at the commander's level, for whatever reason, you don't have them in your battalion. That's mostly probably the battalion commander's fault because he's not running a good selection program. But you don't have them in the battalion. You don't know how to get them. That was my experience as a battalion opso on those 1-to-1 depth to dwells. 13 weeks. We're going to Iraq. Why do I need to do stalking? But yeah, I think a lot of confusion, a lot of unintentional misinformation. I'm not going to go Russia and Ukraine, misinformation or disinformation, just confusion about the process. And then when commanders don't have a thing that they're supposed to have, they blame the institution or they blame the MOS.
Well, and then
it goes away.
You know, and also just to caveat on that, and I'm done talking on it, but they really expect a lot out of the Scout Sniper Platoon.
Absolutely.
The Scout Sniper Platoon has a huge mission, very diverse mission, and very important mission. Everything from controlling air to call for fire, arty, I mean, you name it, reconnaissance, surveillance, target acquisition, long-range precision fires on targets. There's a lot of things that a Scout Sniper Platoon is expected to be able to do and perform, and not being allowed the proper training and time to do those things, it's going to set you up for failure.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. The enlistment, I was in one of my jobs, had admin control of the PAO school, the Comstrat school. They're on a 5-year contract because the school liked us so long. But we've never been able to go, well, that is a highly technical OS, you know, or like when you lat move to Scout Snipers, like you lat move to EOD, we just add on time to your contract. It gets frustrating because there's simple fixes. But to your point, I think probably as I got more senior and when I was company commander, I definitely knew the value of and battalion officer, knew the value of the sniper platoon, used them every day, all the time. You know, had a squad with me as company commander. I was pretty much the primary guy tasking him out as a battalion officer. But then I'm a regimental officer at ITX. I got no ODA and I have no recon platoon. But I have a mission in the regimental security area. So with much gnashing of teeth and fighting with battalion commanders, 1-1 and 2-1 scout snipers got pulled to work for the regiment, and we would not have been able, and they did great, and we would not have been able to do any control of fires or any reconnaissance in the regimental security area. And then once the battle got passed to the battalion security area, we just pushed. The snipers didn't even move; they just rolled to a different net. So that's, you know, some of my tactical experience with snipers. And when you don't have that, and there's no or significantly limited training behind that, you're just not going to be able to have that capability, which is unfortunate. But I agree with you. I wasn't necessarily going to talk about it too much, but this is honestly the first time that I've been retired that I could give my opinion without getting into trouble. So I appreciate you.
I can give mine to a certain extent, but I don't want to blacklist myself.
Yeah, you're this. Well, you know, I don't know if any general officers will listen to this podcast, but don't need to be out there bad mouthing the Marine Corps, because I love the Marine Corps. I'm sure you do as well. All right, so enough old guys talking about some sniper history, but again, a lot of people don't fully understand it. You want to talk a little bit about your training as a sniper?
Yeah, I mean, when I went in 04, and I always knew that I wanted to do something, I guess what we call more than average, right? I want to be better than average. I want to push myself a little bit. So I knew I wanted to be in a specialized capacity of some sort. So it was a recon or being a scout sniper. I was offered the opportunity to become a scout sniper after my first deployment. I heard about the INDOC. You know, my first deployment, I was PFC. I'm in Iraq, and you've got these guys. It's called the sniper platoon. I've never really didn't know we had a scout sniper platoon, you know. And you see these guys moving in and out of your patrol base late at night, you know, cammied up, different gear, sniper rifles, you know, moving in a team. And it's like, man, this is cool. Like, this is what I want to do, you know. And so I started talking to those guys, hey, so tell me about this. They're like, oh, it's Scout Sniper Platoon. You should try out as soon as we get back. And I was like, done. So As soon as I got back from deployment, I tried out, took the NDOC. There was 26 of us in the NDOC, and 7 of us finished without quitting, and they kept 6 of us.
Wow.
And then basically we were in the platoon then, and then I started doing a little bit of training with the platoon for a couple of weeks, and then we had a school date. There was school seats coming up, and we had 2 guys going to go to school that had already been in the platoon for a year and did a deployment, so it was their time. And one of the guys ended up getting a DUI.
That'll do it, right?
Yep.
Handed him.
The weekend before check-in. So the platoon commander and platoon sergeant called me in the office, and they're like, hey, out of the new guys, you're next up on the chopping block. And I'm like, oh, I don't know anything. Yeah, like, well, good luck. You'll figure it out. We think you can do it. So I went to sniper school, and it was difficult. It was difficult because I didn't know any of the knowledge whatsoever. You know, a lot of the guys, traditionally, you needed to do a deployment first, and then you could go try out for scout snipers, do the NDOC. A lot of guys had been training for a whole year, learning all the knowledge and
Making their jelly suit,
all the and knowing, getting the basics of
probably shooting too a little bit.
shooting, getting the
RNS.
basics of just the lingo. You know, I mean, the definitions, and
So it's being around mission planning, even as
mission planning at all. And I was a machine gunner, so I didn't do any mission planning.
Yeah.
So it was a big learning curve. Anyway, made it through, and one of the proudest moments of my life, I think, is doing that. And I was really proud, and immediately became a team leader and deployed, and did 4 more deployments as a scout sniper team leader.
You did 4. Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, in Iraq and Afghanistan, and then had a lot of great missions, a lot of great times. A lot of the deployments that we were on, it was some deployments were very kinetic.
Yeah.
Some were not that kinetic. But we got to do something at least every deployment.
Yeah. Oh, even when I was battalion opso in 07 and 08, and heat had been an area just west of Ramadi that was really bad. But
That was my first deployment.
oh yeah, what years?
06.
Yeah, those are bad. That was sort of before the Anbar Awakening. When I showed up in 07, 08, that had sort of gone away, but we still used our scout sniper platoon, do a tremendous amount of things, counter sniper, do some ATFP mission. They did a lot of counter ID work because we still had that going on. But yeah, we always worked our snipers quite a bit. Yeah. And again, I'm not surprised it was one of your proudest moments. You have to, I mean, with a little preparation, pass one of the hardest schools at a general purpose, because you're not special forces, you're not MARSOC, it's not recon, even though recon is general purpose infantry, but it's one of probably the hardest schools for general purpose infantry.
I'd agree.
It's
It's a very technical school. I mean, a lot of the, even like the recon courses and stuff, don't get me wrong, they're hard. But a lot of those courses are based on physicality, and not quitting and making it through and just push yourself. Scout sniper school, while it is physical, it's a lot of mental stuff. It's a lot of pass or fail evaluations. Historically, the attrition rate was over 60%.
Yep.
So, I mean, that's a long time to lose Marines out of a battalion.
It is.
That make it towards the end. And
yeah,
and
well, you've done it. I've watched it, but just watching Marines towards the end, I think stalking got moved when they redid the package towards the end, but just watching the stalking lane and see a Marine scout sniper student put everything together, infill, take a shot with walkers and exfil and not be detected. That's a huge capability. And then don't want to hover over what we talked about before, but if you're a senior leader and you've never seen that in action, you just don't have the perspective to know. So, but definitely hard training. What was your general mission when you were a sniper in Iraq and Afghanistan? Just if folks don't know, like what were you doing out there?
Our general mission, day-to-day missions, were IED interdiction, and how we would do that, we would work with our battalion intel, and we would develop pattern maps in our COC, and we would mark patterns and locations of where IEDs have been placed, and then that's how we would work up our missions. So we'd say, hey, there's been an IED in this intersection the last 2 weeks straight, so we're thinking there's another one coming soon. So the mission is put yourself into a location to get eyes on that intersection and try to kill anybody someplace in IEDs, basically. And that was a lot of our mission, the majority or with those types of missions. Sometimes you're sitting out in the middle of the desert watching a road. Sometimes you're watching a bridge. Sometimes you're watching aqueducts on the river, or you're watching across the river to where they may have suspected cache sites.
Yep.
And you're trying to see if you can see any activity, and just gauging, watching and observing the baseline of the community, of the villages, and seeing if anything's out of order, and then focusing in on that, and then building your intel and information off that.
And again, for folks that don't know, I mean, obviously, like you talked about, some deployments were more kinetic than others, but I think on average, IEDs were the primary producer of casualties, either dismounted or in vehicles. And in my opinion, when I was company commander, I sort of saw, as I was doing similar patterning things out, I thought they were really used as a defensive weapon, trying to, one, create casualties, but I don't think the local dude was worried about like the U.S. psyche and inducing casualties. He just didn't want me to be able to get to his house where he is, where his cache, without getting hit. He wanted to prevent me from gaining access to their little stronghold.
And that's basically, I really noticed, you really noticed that in Afghanistan. In Iraq, it's a completely different environment, completely different enemy, completely different environment overall. You didn't know who the enemy was as much. They weren't as bold and in your face. It was a lot of IEDs, a lot of sneaking stuff, a lot of guerrilla type warfare type stuff. And so it was difficult to identify your enemy a lot of times. Afghanistan, it was completely obvious who your enemy was. And you knew that if you went to a certain phase line or a certain grid line, you were going to get shot at.
And they're all in
contact. You're going to get contact if you go 200 meters west of this point. As soon as you cross that line, they're going to start shooting at you. We would use that to our advantage, and we would do, so you got covert and overt missions, right? So a covert mission is where basically you're going in, you're trying not to be seen, you get out, leave no trace, right? Overt is where you go out and you be seen. You sit on the roof with your sniper rifles, and you sit there and you observe, and hey, come, here we are, come get us, guys. Who wants to fight? We're ready, And sometimes those would have psychological aspects or effects on the enemy, because sometimes it was a deterrent. We're like, all right, there's snipers here.
Absolutely.
I don't want to move. I don't know what they can see. So let me get out of here.
Yeah.
And we would do that sometimes just to kind of draw them out too.
Yeah. My first deployment, 1-7, would do that a lot in the city of Hussein, but they put out one team and they'd have another team basically probably on infill or exfil route. So the AQI would come in, hit one team, and if we got lucky on infill, they got hit before they got to that team, or down on exfil, we hit them. And that would generally tended to be, especially in an urban area, the best way to get them to, especially they're wearing the same clothes as everybody else, at least in Iraq, like you said, hard to determine, gets them to pick up an AK, which leads to hostile intent, and force them into attack. Otherwise, they're hiding, which that's a frustrating and a pain in the...
Yeah, and we had, and like you said earlier, our mission, our SOPs changed as the war went on. So like we first started out in Iraq in our first deployments, we were operating in 4-man teams. Because in an urban area, 4-man team, it's manageable. You're not too far from your patrol base. QRS pretty close. If shit happens, you can sustain yourself for long enough for QRF to come. And then some of the later deployments in Iraq, we were more out in the rural areas. It wasn't really as safe and feasible to have a 4-man team, so we bumped it up to 6. That way you got more ass behind you in case you need to get out of the jam. And you also have more people to switch back and forth duties of observing, sleeping, downtime, radio, those types of things. We'd go out. Sometimes we'd be pushed out pretty far from patrol bases, and we would have, our missions would be anywhere from 24 to 72 hours, and it's 120 degrees, 72 hours. You're laying out there in the sun.
You're probably wounded by about 36.
You need 6 guys to help spread that load, And then in Afghanistan, we went up to 8-man teams.
Oh, really?
So we couldn't even leave the wire unless we had eight people. But that was awesome, because now you've got 2 4-man mutually supporting elements, Alpha Bravo. You can send one team here, you can send one team here, mutually support each other. You can do different, be really creative, but it's harder to hide.
Yeah, definitely. other give and takes. And I think a lot of the 4-man team stuff, because I date myself a little bit, I was slightly before 9/11, but we're still doing, Russian as a conventional threat, Vietnam style tactics, where I think acceptance for casualties. I mean, there were 50 some odd thousand Americans that were killed in Vietnam. So different theaters, but that's what we were used to, and that's what we're training to. And then you get in a different theater, and you realize that you got to adapt. But again, that's what we do in the Marine Corps. So what was your most difficult day as a scout sniper?
No, well, there's been a few. I mean, definitely anytime we lost somebody, knock on wood, well, not knock on wood, it's over, but I never, out of my deployments, we never lost a scout sniper on any of my deployments. So we take pride in that.
That's a big deal.
Yeah, we never lost a scout sniper. We did have some guys injured. We did have some teams ambushed. One of my good friends did get shot twice in the hip in an ambush. But we never lost a team. But some of the worst times that I remember are when, friends of mine had got hit or died in the battalion, and we were out there with them on ops and stuff.
Yeah.
One big one was a guy that we had seen signs of that somebody looked like they'd marked the road, a path to this abandoned house, and it was really odd. It was like a dead cat and like a stick and like another stick.
Yeah.
And it just looked like, that doesn't look right. Looks like somebody's marked that saying, hey, don't go this way.
Yeah.
There's death that way, or something.
Yeah.
And before I could process this and make a decision, and relay it on the radio to the infantry squad that was going to check that building, I relayed it to their squad leader, and I said, hey, watch out for that building. This doesn't look right. And I didn't get that out of my mouth, and then boom, guy tripped an IED right in the door.
Oh wow.
And we rushed over there to him, and my corpsman, myself, a bunch of us, we were the first ones there to patch him up. He lived. But those kind of things. And then also, one of the biggest things that sticks with me is the children.
Yeah.
Seeing the children hurt, seeing the children abused, seeing the children with acid burns on their face, seeing, and then not only that, but just the complete disregard for life.
Yeah.
That some of those people have. And one big time, that this is the last thing I'll say on that, but there was this one child about 4 years old, and her father brought her in to our patrol base, limp in his arms, and was like, hey, can you fix my daughter? And we're like, what happened? Our interpreter talked to him. He's like, well, I had her riding on my handlebars on my motorcycle, and she fell off, and I ran over and basically killed her. And it was not a good sight.
Yeah.
But he didn't care. He was just like, can you fix her? Like, no. Okay. Thank you. Yes. Left.
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, no, you learn a lot about humanity in war, and especially when you go from a first world country where probably in the U.S., especially if you called the 911 and you had an ambulance show up, you might have been able to save her. But yeah, I saw a lot of similar things. You definitely learned a lot about humanity.
Yeah.
And I think we're blessed to live in the U.S. because I agree with you. I think we respect human life significantly more. What accomplishment are you most proud of as a sniper?
really, probably the most thing I'm most accomplished or most proud of is the fact that we never, I never lost a Marine, and we never lost a member of our platoon. No KA, in all my deployments and all operations we did and all the missions, we never lost anybody directly in our platoon deployed. Now, I've lost friends, of course, that weren't deployed with us in different platoons, but yeah, that's probably the biggest accomplishment I have.
Yep, that's a big deal. I was close to doing that as company commander, but unfortunately, didn't work out, and I lost a couple. That is always the number one goal when you go over is to bring everybody back. And credit to you for doing it 5 times.
Yeah,
you've talked a lot about on social media about your shot, right? And so right now you're in the running for the longest combat shot or from anybody, sniper or otherwise, in the Marine Corps. Can you talk about that a little bit? I guess first off, I'm interested because it happened in 2011,
right.
and now it's 2025. So I guess however you want to do it, but But I would be curious, as I'm a little curious, as a flash to bang on,
how it all happened.
yeah, why it took so long too. But
Yeah, well, simple answer, when we were in and deploying, we just didn't talk about those things. It wasn't that it was taboo. It's just the Marine Corps was so hard to even get an award or recognize anybody for anything. I mean, we would write people up for freaking bronze stars, and they would get knocked down to a SIRCOM.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was just the culture back then. Is nobody want to be awarded or rewarded for anything. So it was never even an option in my mind that, hey, this could be something cool. Now I knew it was a long shot, and we knew it, and we talked about it, but that was it.
Yeah.
Talked about the next day, and that was it. I never brought it up again. And I've told the story a couple times, throughout the last few years. Since I got out in 2013. This happened in 2011 in Afghanistan and Marja, but it never struck my mind to come out and make it official, or even that it was impossible to make it official. I didn't know that there's no process.
Yeah.
So I did a podcast. When I became the president of the Scout Sniper Association, I started doing a few podcasts to kind of get myself out there as the face of the association, put a face with the association, help get us out there, and just
Yeah, if you're gonna help Marines, you got to earn money.
publicity,
Yeah.
get us out there, tell stories, let everybody know what we're doing. And this one podcast I was on, the question came up of, so what was one of your best missions, or what was one of your longest? And I told the story of my longest kill in Afghanistan, which was over 2,600 yards, 24, 26 meters
With a 50 cal, right?
with a 50 cal Barrett. Yep.
Yeah.
And I told that story on the podcast, and the guy on the podcast, being savvy, ended up titling the podcast
Okay.
longest sniper shot in history.
Okay.
So once he did that, and it started spreading on social media, people started messaging me randomly, hey, I remember that, JT. Yeah, hey, I was with you on that deployment, or yeah, I remember you guys that day of that operation, and then they're like, hey, I got some pictures actually from you guys on the roof that day.
Oh, wow.
And then, all right, cool. So people started sending me stuff, and then it started, the conversation started going like, well, what is the longest ever killed by a Marine? Because I didn't even know, nobody knew. So we started looking it up, and the only thing documented was Carlos Hathcock at 2286 or something like that. And that was with the 50 cal also.
Okay.
So like, okay, well, mine is further than that. What do we do now? I just want to let's just put it on Wikipedia.
Yeah.
Well, that led to, there is an actual process that you can have historical things documented with the Marine Corps History Division at Quantico. They have a whole process for that. So a marketing director for SSA, he reached out to him and was like, hey, this is possible. Like, you can, they told me what you need to do. You need some, signed and written notarized statements describing the event, and then, submit a package to the History Division, and they'll review it. And I was like, all right. So I had a couple of my guys that were there that day write statements and notarize them, send them to me. And then I was able to locate my old company commander, who was there on the operation I was talking to on the radio as it was going down. And he remembered everything. And he was like, I remember that day. I remember everything. Yeah, I'll write your statement. No problem. Let's do it. And so he did. He wrote, and he happens to still be active duty as a lieutenant colonel now at Quantico.
Yeah, that probably helps out a little bit.
So he's like, yeah. He's like, hey, let's do it. It's legit. I was there. I remember. And then he also put in my fit rep, or that period, 5 MEKA Operation Sales.
So that's documented that it actually happened
Right.
at the time, and then he's still on active duty, which probably gives it a little bit more weight because it's
So
it's official statement from a Marine Lieutenant Colonel at that point.
yeah. So I just had the documentation, and I was like, let's just put it in and see, and if anything, I don't care if it's the longest or not personally, but if it helps bring eyes to the association, helps bring eyes to the legacy of Scout Snipers, then let's do it. And a story never told is a story never known.
Yeah.
And with the MOS going away, there's tons of people that's got great stories out there that's never told them. And I'm trying to encourage guys to come out. Let's come out and tell your story so we know, and that's it. So right now they're investigating it. It was done in March, and they told me that they will be reviewing it in May and making decisions. So
Well, if nothing else, I hope you get it. Well, because just the way you told the story, it resonates with me a lot. I mean, you were focused on what you should have been focused on, is making sure everybody comes back. And then if people have the opportunity to listen to the story, you were an Overwatch physician, I think, protecting really Afghan army. So you're out there protecting the allies and partners, and you didn't think about it because you're doing your job. And again, plus two, the thing with Marine Awards. I mean, at the time, I got very frustrated about it. I had a sniper that had about an 800-yard shot. We were going to put him for Navy Combat V, and then me and the XO and the first sergeant were like, oh, that's a little far. Why don't we say 700? By the time I got up to the regiment, it was about like a 500-yard shot. They got a Navy Combat V, and I would always like get really frustrated with higher headquarters, and I still am, because and everything else but combat awards, everybody wants to take the accomplishments of their enlisted Marines and tell the world, right? Because we're proud of them, and I do appreciate sort of a little bit of the stinginess that the Marine Corps has, because once you get that award, it makes it mean something. But yeah, but sometimes I think we're a little overly stingy. But
yeah, if there's somebody, hopefully me telling my story and getting us out there makes other snipers come out with their stories. Yeah, because we need to know, this is the whole part of the Heritage Foundation, is to preserve our legacy.
And talk about humble warriors again. I'm on the board, and we've tried to get snipers to tell their stories to help generate money to honor their legacy, and they're just really humble warriors. They did their job. They were a sniper because they chose to be, and they just don't want to talk about it. But I think for folks viewing this, that does put folks like you in a predicament when you're trying to explain to a service that started the program, that got rid of the program, that maybe might want to bring it back, and here's why. So yeah. Anyway, it's an interesting and unfortunate conundrum that we're in. Can you talk a little bit about, obviously we already talked to you, the CEO of the Scout Sniper Association, Veteran Service Organization. Can you talk to people a little bit about why you chose to serve again? It's a non-paid position. You drove down from Quantico today on your own dime. I know you do a lot of that on your own dime. Can you talk to people about why you're continuing to serve it in another capacity?
Well, I've always wanted to serve people in general, so that's why I joined in the first place. And then when I got out of the Marine Corps, I was kind of jaded. I wasn't happy. I was going through a lot of issues. Disconnected. I was going through a lot of different issues, personal life issues and things. And I kind of removed myself from the Marine Corps community, the Scout Sniper community, all kind of as a whole. And I just didn't want to do nothing to do with it anymore. And I wanted to focus on building a new career on the intangibles that I learned in the military, but not making my identity as a Scout Sniper. So started working for the VA, as a project manager, contracting officer, did all these things, and built a good career for myself, had my family. And then I got to a point in my career to where everything was kind of starting to slow down. It was like, all right, I've accomplished that goal. I've made it to where, I've got a new career now. I'm not identified as a Scout Sniper. And then just randomly one day, the former president, who was current at the time, gave me a call because he was just going through membership list and calling people because they had elections coming up, or board of directors. He's like, hey, I want to introduce myself. I'm the CEO of Scout Sniper Association. I was like, I didn't even know it was still around.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, we are. I was like, oh, cool. And he's like, actually, we're looking for board members. We got an election coming up if you're interested. And I was like, you know what? Maybe. So I talked to my wife. She's like, yeah, do it. Go ahead. So I did. I applied. And, one of the things in the application process is they request that if any sniper has anything negative or positive to say about this guy to this list, let me know. Send me an email so we know who we're getting. And he said, out of everybody on the list, he didn't get emails from anybody, but for me, he got 3 or 4. And he's like, so people remember you and I guess, like you or whatever. So that's when I started thinking, like, you know what? There's a lot of Marines that I remember that I know that I miss and that I would like to reconnect with. So I'm going to get on the board and see what I can do with this association, see how it goes. And I kind of introduced myself back into the community, and then, people started coming out of the woodwork. Oh, JT, and I started all old friends again, and it just felt so great. I went to the hog call and met some snipers again for the first time I hadn't seen in years, and it just felt so good to be around those guys and like-minded individuals, and that you can relate with. And then I just really started diving in to the association and really seeing the possibilities that we had with this association to really make a difference in Scout Snipers' lives and legacy. And that's what led me to doing it. And then I was basically offered the VP spot, because our COO spot, because got a COO was wanting to step down. And so I jumped in as a COO, and then the president his time was up on the board due to the bylaws, and he asked me if I would take over as president. So I did. And we've done great. We've grown the association by a lot. We've introduced new programs. We've really upped our social media presence. And, like I said, last year, 2024 was the largest year we ever had with sniper support cases. We probably gave out over $30,000 in support for guys that need, ranging anything from helping them pay mortgage, helping them with surgeries, childcare, you name it. A lot of different issues. And what we do, one thing that makes me so proud to be a part of the Scout Sniper Association is that we don't only help the service member, we provide support and services for the family also. So your wife, kids, if your kid needs some kind of emergency surgery, we'll help you. We'll try to help you with that. Same thing with your wife. Your wife needs emergency dental surgery. You don't have dental insurance. You can reach out to us and we'll try to help. It's great. And a lot of things that we do is not just providing monetary assistance. Sometimes it's just connecting you with partners that we have through our network that can help you. Sometimes it's just sending another Marine sniper that's in your area to link up with you and sit down and see what's going on.
Yeah, that's what I like. You know more about hog calls than I do, but I like that program because that incentivizes people to reconnect. And I think that being part of a veteran service organization probably is a huge help to mental health and maybe suicide reduction. My company, Gunny, I'm still tight with. Actually, my 50th birthday's the next weekend, and I'm going to link back up with him, and happy to do it. But he's stayed really tight with all our Marines, and one of the things that he's seen is guys will do one enlistment, they'll get out, and they're changed. We all know that you go to combat, you're changed. They don't relate to anybody, or maybe they did like a civilian contracting job, Iraq, Afghanistan. They got a bunch of money, but they never got married, or maybe they got married and divorced, and they're sitting in an apartment with a bunch of money in the bank, and they're bored out of their mind. They have no purpose, and life throws a curveball at them, and they just end their lives. And I think involvement in veteran service organizations and hog calls, et cetera, can maintain some connectivity to people that they trusted the most but maybe lost contact with, and then keep them hopefully on the right path.
Yeah, I mean, we're tribal people,
Yeah.
And I mean, you identify with your tribe.
Yep.
And that's what we try to preach. Hey, get out to hog calls, reach out to us anytime to request to host a hog call. Any Scout Sniper that's out there across the U.S., no matter where you're at, always, if you want to host a hog call, whether it be meeting at a bar with some guys or a shooting event or anything, all you have to do is reach out to us on our website, click request a hog call, and we'll get back to you. We'll help with the social media part, promoting it. We'll also help you with funds to help fund it. And, that's how we keep each other together.
Yeah.
That's why we just started this new media campaign where every week we send out on social media a, hog check.
Yeah.
This is your reminder to do a hog check. Call the guys in your platoon, call the guys that you serve with, and see how they're doing. And that's a report. We got to take care of each other.
Yeah. Definitely. 1% of the American population served, and we did it for 20 years. And you stay close to your brothers and sisters. That's what we were talking about the podcast. I am glad to be retired. I probably talk about it too much in this forum, but I did 27 years. It's time for me to go. But I think one of the things that I like most about this job, being in the 2A space, providing, what we believe to be the best quality gear for military and law enforcement professionals, is I'm still around, you guys, a lot of the gunners, a lot of the infantry Marines that are looking for gear or give us ideas on how to modify gear. I get to stay around you guys. That's pretty nice. Do you want to talk anything more about Scout Sniper Association or anything else that you guys have going on?
I do want to mention real quick. So one of our new initiatives is we just started and we're launching a Team SSA, which is basically SSA shooting team. Okay, we want to sponsor guys, Scout Snipers, to shoot in PRS, NRL, any kind of matches, competitions across the U.S. So we've got a plan right now. Lee Wadsworth is now one of our board of directors, and he is our new VP of shooting teams. He's got a plan developed, and we're in the stages of trying to start identifying those snipers that are interested in joining the team.
Yeah.
How to vet them and get them as a member of the team, and then getting the shooting shirts out to them, helping them pay for match fees, those types of things, helping them coordinate training, helping them coordinate what events they want to shoot in what regions. And the whole purpose of that is, once again, get guys connected.
Yep.
Get guys up off the couch, get them out of the house, get them back on guns.
Yep.
And also to promote the association.
The just similar connection for similar reasons. The Marine Recon Foundation does the same thing for the exact same reason. Shooting sports, triathlons, whatever, active duty, former, just to get them involved, so they're not stewing and feeling.
They do a lot. They do great with that, with the team RSF. Also, and that's kind of what we would like to do too on our end, just getting the guys out there.
Oh, that's great, and hopefully you and Leah let us sponsor some of your shooters with our gear. Yeah. Okay, so we talked about it, but scoutsniper.org for the SSA website. Click on the donate button, the event button, right? It'll get you to the raffle.
Yep.
Scoutsniperheritage.org is the Marine Scout Sniper Heritage Foundation. So if you're not a pig or hog, but you want to donate, help us get that statue. And I got to help our CEO, Tim Parkhurst, pick that out. It is a neat spot. It's on the high ground up in the Memorial Park. It's literally an overwatch of all the other monuments, and I know it'll be special. And I was blessed to be able to go with Tim and pick that out. We just need you to donate, and we appreciate it when you do. Okay, so what I wanted to do, I started this recently. Because people that come on the podcast spend a lot of time out of your way to come here and help promote the 2A lifestyle, promote our brand, but also just have some camaraderie in the 2A space. So I wanted the least thing that I could do is give you a custom G-Code holster. Your carry gun, it was the SIG. What was it again? I forgot.
P365 SAS.
Yes.
SAS.
Yeah, no, that is a nice gun. I forgot the acronym, but it's recessed sights to prevent. I mean, it's basically whereas the optics plate was
snag proof.
Yep, snag proof, and the optics are all lowered, and actually doesn't even have a front sight post, right?
They're all lowered. Yeah, they're all recessed inside of the slides. It takes some getting used to those sights, but if you practice your muscle memory and get used to it, it's super accurate. The gun's a little tack arm. It's a good gun, and I like it just because it's so concealable. And having small kids and always carrying stuff, I can just throw that thing anywhere. Pocket.
365 is a great platform. What we did is we got you gray kydex on our black fuzz. This is the Eclipse. This is the same holster that Sean Ryan carries. I carry this in my P365 AXG Legion, and this clip here helps the holster stay into your body, so it's not printing. Got a 3-hole. You can get a 4-hole clip, so you can drop that down in your pants if you carry it that way. Center line, so it's nice, and it's nice center of gravity if you're carrying it in your pants. But thanks for coming today.
Awesome, dude.
And certainly appreciate you coming. And as we close out and talk a little bit about G-Code, do you mind? You said you're carrying G-Code for about 5 years. What's your favorite G-Code product, or what do you?
I bought the Assaulter system when I first seen it online. It's probably been 4 or 5 years now. The cool thing I like about G-Code, first off, first off, their holsters seem like they never wear out. They don't stretch, right? You always get that click.
Yes, and we have a lifetime warranty. So,
But it seems like I always get that click every time, you know. And then also, just all of the, it's just such good quality, man. Like you just can't really beat the quality and attention you guys put into these things. Every time I go to a range, if people don't know what G-Code is, they're always asking me about my kit, you know. But yeah, other than that, the assaulter system, the thing I liked about it too is that, you know, at the time I'd been out of shooting for a long time,
yeah,
and I was just kind of getting back into it. And the cool thing about the assaulter system is that it's customizable. You can do it all online. You can build the whole kit how you want it. I want this built for a left-handed shooter. I want these pouches here. I want this here, and then click buy, and then a couple weeks it shows up at your door built.
you are a lefty, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm left.
So, well, that's good. Appreciate the plug, and we certainly appreciate everything that you do for snipers out there. I've known you for, I think, probably about 2 years now, and
Yeah.
I know you guys do a great job, and can't say enough about the Scout Sniper Association and what you're doing for young Marines. Again, great raffle going. That's going to generate a lot of money. Again, I don't know how you couldn't support something like the SSA, emergency dental surgery for somebody's spouse that hasn't been in the Marine Corps probably for 7 or 8 years. And that's a great thing about veteran service organizations, I think, is we're maintaining that connection, taking care of our brothers in arms, and and you know, never leaving a Marine behind, just like you did in combat. I think that's important, and we're surely appreciative of your relationship with me, but your relationship with the business as well, and we'll continue to help as much as we can. So scoutsniper.org, and that is, get on that raffle before it's over. By the time this podcast comes out, the raffle will be over. We're going to put out a short so you can get it on the 5th. But you got help, and how often, for people that miss this raffle, how often you do 1 or 2 raffles a year?
Typically we do one a year, but I think this year we're probably going to launch another one just solely to raise money for the shooting team.
Okay.
Um,
And then I know the Scout Sniper Heritage Foundation has done 1 so far.
Yeah.
And then you guys are trying to, the 2 organizations are connected, but you're trying to deconflict the raffles.
we're trying to stagger them.
Yeah.
You know, so I think the drawing for ours on May 5th, I think the next couple of days or the next week, the one for the Heritage Foundation will go live.
Okay.
So that's how we're trying to do it. You know, we're trying not to raffle people to death.
Yeah.
But man, how would you not want a chance to win these guns? These are all, the next one's the Heritage Foundation is a full custom built, full deployment kit, M40A6.
Oh, wow.
So everything.
All the SL3 and
Everything.
Oh, wow. You probably can't. That's probably one of the only places you could find that then.
Yeah, it's very
Through the raffle.
to get that.
Yeah.
Very.
Or even I mean, I went up to Camp, and now we're going to talk gun nerd stuff. We're about to finish. Sorry, real quick. I went up to Camp Perry, my last job, and got an M1. And there's only certain places like that you can get the M1, and then there's vendors out there. You can get everything. Era cleaning kits, grenade launchers. So yeah, definitely. So if you missed the raffle on the 5th, stay tuned to scoutsniperheritage.org and scoutsniper.org. Get your raffle. And again, I'm behind the scenes enough. These are not the raffle doesn't get sneakily diverted to JT. It's legit, because I think last time by happenstance somebody won it twice in a row or something like that. It was some weird thing, but
I wouldn't doubt it. But this is all ran by a raffle creator. It's digital. We don't touch nothing.
but it's legit, and
The button it'll give us.
and you don't have to be a sniper to enter the raffle. You just have to be interested in it, and it goes to the right people, and the money goes to the right people. So we appreciate you coming today. I think we're going to go to lunch.
Cool. Appreciate it.
All right, see you next time on Range 5 Podcast.